Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories in the week. I'm Teniola Shoboale. The headlines. Suspected herders invade internally displaced people's camp in Makadi, Benue State. 7 people killed. House of Representatives asks President Buhari to declare a state of emergency on security sector. INEC chairman calls for speedy passage of Electoral Act Amendment Bill before 2023 general elections. Plus, at least 5 persons killed, 27 others injured as Chad military leader promises inclusive national dialogue amid protests for return to civilian rule. That's News Round in View. News Round begins with the deadly attack on an internally displaced people's camp in Makadi, the Benue State capital, where 7 people were killed by suspected herders, leaving others injured. Following that, a peaceful protest broke out as the angry displaced persons blocked the Makadi-Lafia Federal Highway, protesting the killing, while the bodies of the victims were laid on the road.
Protesting host community and inmates at the Abagana IDP camp in Makodi, located along the Makodi-Lafia Federal Highway, concerning the dumping of 7 corpses of those killed by suspected herdsmen in the early hours of Tuesday. The IDPs and the host community are chanting protest songs, blocking vehicular movement from both ends, demanding action from the federal government to end the herdsmen invasion, killings, and habitation of their ancestral land to allow them return home.
We are not happy any longer. They say that we should submit our arms. We have submitted our arms. And now the Fulanis, they are attacking us. We don't have any other thing to do. They say anybody that move with cutlass that they should arrest him. The Fulanis that move with AK-47 and nobody is here to say anything.
5 days ago, they killed so many within the same community, and they have been killing. There have been so many killings, and we, as a community, we say this should be the last killing. Otherwise, we will go to self-help.
Governor Otom, who did not hesitate in calling for gun licensing for his people to repel the attack, asked President Muhammadu Buhari to call his kinsmen to order, convene a national security summit, and live up to his responsibility of protecting lives and property before all is lost under his watch.
Go to Guma, the same killings are taking place. Go to Benue West, the same killings are taking place. This is not right. The federal government have refused to take proactive steps to arrest this ugly situation that we're witnessing here today. You send these people away from their villages. They came here to take refuge. And today, they are being killed in this manner. Over 70 people have been killed in the last 2 weeks by these herdsmen. They no longer come with their cattle. They come because they are looking for livestock to kill. They have even sent messages that except livestock guard refuse to take their cattle so that they will come and graze on our farms. And this we say no, it will not be accepted.
70 persons, according to the governor, have been killed in the last 1 month in Benue State, from Benue West to Agatu, Makodi to Guma, with no actionable intelligence to track the perpetrators, just as the statistics for internally displaced persons surpasses over 1 million people now displaced.
The Benue IDP camp incident was just one of the numerous attacks witnessed in various parts of the country in the week, prompting calls for more drastic action to tackle insecurity in the country. One of such came from the House of Representatives, where lawmakers held a special session which lasted for over 4 hours to dissect the matter. At the end of the meeting, the Speaker of the House, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, read out the resolutions reached, including asking the President to declare a state of emergency on the security sector.
The House reiterates its commitment to the security and corporate existence of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and will therefore accelerate its engagement with stakeholders at a special security summit that is being organized by the House of Representatives. 4, the House urgently invites the NSA, the service chiefs and paramilitary chiefs, and the MD of NIGCOMSAT to brief the House on the security situation in the country. 5, considering the security situation, the President should immediately declare a state of emergency in the security sector so as to fast-track all measures to ensure that the restoration of peace in our country. The federal government should ensure the protection of national infrastructure and assets, particularly the Shiroro and Kainji dams in Niger State. 10, the House mandates all its security committees to immediately commence a comprehensive audit of all military and paramilitary assets and arms and ammunition in our armed services and revert back to the House within 4 weeks. 11, that the number of personnel in the police and military falls far short of the required number to effectively secure the country, and the House calls for immediate recruitment to this effect.
It was not entirely different in the upper legislative chamber, where senators also lamented the devastating insecurity in the country. Some of the lawmakers condemned what they termed lack of adequate action by the executive, with a former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, declaring that any government that fails to protect its citizens has lost its legitimacy.
I am a APC man and I've been supporting my party, but the president should get to know that it has gotten to a point that we who are supporters, who are members of the APC, we can no longer keep quiet. The president must rise to the occasion. You will not see the truth and you are afraid to say it because you will die. We must open, Mr. President. The nation is on fire. The president must know that this is a bad time for our nation. We must look for foreign support to save this nation. This is my position, Mr. President. We must rise to it. They are killing people in the east, in the west, in the south, in the north. We should shut down the National Assembly. Let's shut it down. If we cannot save this country, we stay in our homes. Our country is bleeding.
Senator Smata Adeyemi breaking down in tears as he appeals to President Buhari to resolve the security crisis in the country. A day after the Niger State governor sounded an alarm that Boko Haram terrorists have taken over a part of his state, hoisting their flag in Kaure village, the Senate is debating the disturbing situation in Niger State and general insecurity in the country. Lawmakers appear fed up with the vicious killings in different parts of the country and do not seem to be confident in the ability of President Buhari to resolve the security situation.
I don't intend to re-emphasize the fact that any government that cannot protect its citizens, whether it is local government or state or federal, has lost legitimacy. We had COVID-19 in this country in year 2020. Some states were shut down in order to deal with that situation. I think this time has come for a place like Niger State to be completely shut down and protect their citizens.
There is no political will. None of us here can say we know the process that this government intends to use to battle insecurity.
We need to have a private session with the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of this country as a Senate to find a permanent and lasting solution to this huge national embarrassment.
While some Nigerians question the ability of President Buhari to address the security crisis, the mover of the motion on insecurity in Niger State warns of any plans to impeach the president.
It is not about impeachment. What is the solution? You and I knows what impeachment is all about. It's another crisis into another crisis.
In the meantime, the Senate has agreed on some steps to tackle the security challenge, which includes asking the Chief of Army Staff and Inspector General of Police to immediately deploy troops to defend troubled communities and urge them to establish permanent military and a police base at the axis adjoining Shiroro and Rafi local government areas of Niger State. Linda Kibe, Channels Television News.
More suggestions on how to overcome these security challenges. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, is also appealing to Nigerians to see security as a collective responsibility. Mr. Boss Mustafa made the comments at the second National Peace and Security Summit organized by the Nigerian Labour Congress in the nation's capital, Abuja.
The Nigeria Labour Congress is concerned about the state of security in the country, and this gathering is their initiative at finding a solution to the challenge. Those gathered here cut across government officials and men of the armed forces. The alarming state of insecurity is one that has left everyone living in fear and panic. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation wants Nigerians to support government's efforts to end the menace.
Every nation has an obligation to protect and deepen its core values aimed at enabling people to live their lives in a free and secured environment. It is in this respect that the current state of insecurity calls for concerted efforts and collaboration with the government to end this orgy of violence.
The former chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Adams Oshomole, speaks on what seems to be the genesis of the cases of banditry in the country. He accuses state governors of treating their people unfairly.
It's criminal for any governor, and I emphasize any governor, as we speak, not to be paying as and when due that minimum wage. There is crisis in the family. There are people who wonder whether death will not put an end to their pain than living in a situation where you are employed, ideally by the most responsible authority in any state, which is the state government, and for months you are not being paid.
Other speakers underscored the importance of patriotism and unity of all citizens at this critical period.
At this time, when situations are already tensed in the country, every one of us should have a responsibility to ensure that we do not add to the already tense situation.
It will be counterproductive to replace our Nigerian soldiers with foreign boots. Our armed forces are capable of bringing this insurgency to an end if they are better armed, equipped, and modern technology and adequate motivation is deployed.
As the country faces trying times, many in this hall are hopeful that this menace will not escalate beyond the present situation.
When News Round returns in just a moment, still on the security situation, Senate Committee on Army summons Finance Minister. We'll tell you more in a moment. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Senators did not stop at merely lamenting the worst insecurity situation in the country. They also raised questions about proper financing for military operations, which they considered critical at this time. Consequently, the lawmakers asked the Minister of Finance to appear before its Committee on Army to give account of releases to the military for Operation Lafia Dole and the war on terrorism. The summons followed the absence of the Finance Minister at a previous meeting called by the committee.
Security checks at the entrance into the National Assembly are more intense than normal, causing long queues into the premises. Unconfirmed reports say there is an alleged security threat on the Assembly, which necessitates this level of search of vehicles. Inside one of the hearing rooms in the National Assembly, the Senate Committee on Army is holding a meeting to discuss the release of funds to the military to fight terrorism. The chairman of the committee is unhappy at the absence of the Minister of Finance, who was invited to attend this meeting.
If the minister is in town and she refuses to honor this invitation, honestly, or neglect this invitation, honestly, we are not going to take it kindly. While in her state, in Kaduna, today, more than 50 people are still in the hands of captives. If to say her child or her brother or somebody related is among those that are there, I'm sure she will be here.
Nevertheless, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance tries to fill in for the minister, detailing some releases to the military. He explains that 75 billion naira was appropriated and released in 2019. But the committee chairman is not satisfied with his explanation.
Number 4 there, 2020, 75 billion was appropriated. 74.999, only I think 2 naira was. So almost 100% was released. The current year, 100 billion has been appropriated. We have released 19.7 for the first quarter. Just yesterday, we have released 19.95.
Here is a letter indicating that from the time of the introduction of Operation Lafia Dole, they have a shortfall outstanding of 50 billion. When they attacked Minok, the problem they had there was because they didn't have the communication, they didn't have the cover, they didn't have, in fact, what happened really was that they ran out of ammunition. When they exhausted their ammunition, they had to take cover, they ran away, and they killed 30 of them.
They may require certain funds, but as far as appropriation is concerned, we have released what has been appropriated to them.
Committee members did not go much further with the permanent secretary, as they insist that the finance minister must appear before them next Tuesday, May 4th, to give account of releases to the military for Operation Lafia Dole and the war on terrorism. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.
Was only 19.6.
Away from security matters, a day after a coalition of civil society organizations renewed pressure on the National Assembly to accelerate the processes of creating a new electoral act before the next general election, the INEC chairman also appeared before the lawmakers, making the same demand. According to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, INEC is anxious to know the legal framework to govern the conduct of the 2023 general elections.
This is a public hearing by the Senate Committee on INEC to get feedback from professionals on the Electoral Offences Commission Bill. The Electoral Offences Commission Bill provides for the creation of an organization tasked with the responsibility of investigating and prosecuting electoral offenders.
Adopt measures to prevent, minimize, and eradicate electoral offences.
INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, while supporting the Electoral Offences Commission Bill, is seeking quick passage of the Electoral Act. Senate President Ahmed Lawan had assured that the Electoral Act Amendment Bill would be passed by the end of the first quarter of 2021, but the National Assembly has failed to meet this target.
While we are excited by today's public hearing, I would like to reiterate our appeal to the National Assembly for the expeditious passage of the Electoral Offences Commission Bill and the pending review of the electoral legal framework generally. We are confident that NAS will conclude work on the legal framework in earnest.
Number 2, 2019 Amendment Bill.
Meanwhile, the Senate is amending the law setting up the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, to strengthen it to tackle the problem of toxic loans. The amendment bill empowers AMCON to, among others, take possession, manage or sell all properties traced to debtors, whether or not such assets or property is used as security or collateral for obtaining the loan in particular. However, some lawmakers fault this clause.
If I'm a debtor and I tendered a collateral for a facility with the original bank, I have signed everything that has to do with that collateral. You cannot go beyond the context of that collateral, Mr. President.
Nevertheless, the Senate passes the bill.
And the bill is passed. Leader of the Senate.
Speaking to Channels Television, one of the sponsors of the bill explains that the amendment will strengthen AMCON in asset recovery.
Most of these debtors, like I said, they are flying with private jets in this country. They have assets across the country, yet they are refusing to pay the money. So with this current amendment, now AMCON can look at their other asset and now use it to recover the loans by taking over those assets.
The amendment also gives AMCON the power to approach credit tribunals to recover their funds, eliminating the bottlenecks often encountered in normal courts. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.
Well, News Round ends in Chad, where the country's new leader addressed the nation, promising an inclusive national dialogue aimed at returning the country to civilian rule within 18 months, following the death of his father and longtime president, Idris Deby. Mohamed Deby also pledged to fight terrorism. His speech came amid protests against the military takeover in the capital, N'Djamena, and the southern city of Mondo, in which at least 5 people died and dozens were injured. Key ally France has expressed concern with President Emmanuel Macron condemning the suppression of Tuesday's protest in the strongest terms and a father-to-son succession plan. On Monday, Chad's new military rulers named a civilian politician, Albert Fami Padake, as prime minister of a transitional government, but opposition leaders also quickly dismissed the appointment. And that's it on News Round. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shoboale. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.